Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast. I'm so excited. Great surprise today to get Coach Prunty on. You know, being a high school coach in Virginia, Coach Prunty is always someone that I looked up to and followed his journey in coaching. And I wanted to tell him two things before we get going. First of all, Coach, you're the smartest coach in America because I know you're a great recruiter and a great coach, but you're the smartest coach in America because you offered a guy who's 6'6" and 300 pounds and looks like Morgan Moses and Mekhi Becton a scholarship. I don't know what these other college coaches are looking at, but this kid from Dinwiddie that plays for the best high school coach in Virginia in the hardest program, Colin Jackson, Coach. That's the first thing I want to say. And then the second thing, when you took the job at Gretna, Coach, legend states that you visited all the churches, the black and the white churches. And then the legend even goes further. And I don't know if you told me this, Coach, or someone else, but you actually attended KKK meetings to get those guys on your side so they let their boys play football. So, Coach, introduce yourself to the clinic, and I guess we can start with those 2 points, Coach.
Well, first of all, I thank God for
Amen.
being here, and I'm so thankful. But I also want to thank you for thinking enough for me to let me be on this show, and you guys do a great job. And I was very fortunate, growing up in Chatham, Virginia, is where I'm from, a little small town with one stoplight, and and I went on to play football here at Hampton and then Alabama A&M, and came back and started coaching at Gretna High School program that was 0-44. I hadn't won a game in 4 years and a half, but it was a lot behind that program. You talk about guys like Vaquea Hall, who went on to the University of Virginia and played quarterback there and defensive back, and Vic had a chance recently come and coach with me here at Hampton, and there he's at Ball State. He's the passing game coordinator and the defensive back coach. Those stories are great stories that you look at along the way. Those are people who paid the way back at Gretna. And along with, we had a lot of young men, but I tell you what played the biggest part in Gretna was the community. And yeah, you're right. We did visit churches. And when we visited both churches, black and white, because at that time when I took the job, I was the first Afro-American coach to be named head coach there. And about 80% of the team was Afro-American. I thought that was very important that we made it more diversified. So the first place I visited was, First Baptist Church right in the heart of town of Gretna. And at that time, rumor has it, I don't know if it's true when I say rumors, that I was the first, black male to go stand up at the pulpit and speak at the church. And I simply told them that, hey, this is an opportunity for us to bring these young men together, and let's do it. And I got support from both sides, from white and black and Hispanic. So we had a mixture of race on our team, and it worked out very well. And the success behind Gretna and stuff. So there's been a lot of rumors about the kind of people they were, but I don't know about me no KKK meeting or nothing like that. That's rumors there. I mean, I just know that there was some loving, great, beautiful people in Gretna, and I wouldn't be here today. Gretna played a major part in my matriculation through college football, and along with Hargrave Military Academy, which I graduated from. But it all started at one place, and that's that little small place. Ain't nothing big, but it's growing, Gretna, Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, no disrespect to Remember the Titans or Coach Boone, but I mean, Disney, they changed a lot. And I mean, this story right here, I mean, this is the stuff they make movies out of. And you don't have to change the story to make it more interesting or anything like that. But, you leave Gretna and they go on, I think they win 4 state championships or something within the last 10 years of you being there. And then you go to Hargrave, Coach. And man, you want to talk about fun. Having Fork Union and Hargrave going head to head in Virginia. I mean, Coach, what a beautiful time, man. I mean, you talk about that, Coach, getting that job and then, having those players.
Coach, that was a battle now. And, John Schumann is probably one of the toughest coaches I ever coached against. I
Amen.
don't care whether it's been on the college level or high school or prep school level. He is one of the most well prepared. He has one of the well prepared team, and they're physical, and he's just tough. We played them one Friday evening, and there was about 100 college coaches is there, and it was pouring down, raining, and it went into 6 overtime. It was the most exhausting game I ever been in. We ended up winning the game on a Hail Mary play, but I can tell you this: I got so much respect for Fork Union and John Schumann and the job they do. I mean, just a tough, competitive, and being able to, man, Fork Union, Eddie George. I mean, so many great players came out of Ernest Woodford and those guys come out of there. And then at Hargrave, of course, we had Torrey Holden, and, you name them, Charles Grant, Jonathan Sullivan. I mean, you put those two programs together, you're talking about over 200 athletes that played in the NFL. And I know when my tenure at Hargrave, I had close to 70. So, man, I mean, you talking about talent, but the thing that stands out the most is for those young men to be put in an environment with so much discipline, getting up at 5:30 in the morning, marching to lunch, marching to breakfast, study hall every night, a total culture shock. And for them to adjust to that says a lot for those young men. So I give all the credit to those young men and their families.
And I like to hear. I mean, because Coach, we're the older coaches now. These young guys, some of them I don't think realize how to be a competitor, and that you and Coach Schumann were rivals. I mean, y'all were the big dogs, but there was that mutual respect between both of y'all that it was going to be a war during the game, but y'all respected each other and how y'all did things. And it was just fun to watch, Coach, because I had friends that went down there and played for you from LC Bird. So that was just a fun time. And then can you talk about like the people who came after y'all that tried to copy y'all, the hustlers? I mean, I don't want to get any particulars, but North Carolina Tech and those people that were doing it for the wrong reasons, Coach. Like, what have you got anything to say about that, Coach? Because there's so many hustlers out there today that aren't doing it for the right reasons. Like,
well, see, I was gone at that time. When Coach Tuberville offered me the job at Texas Tech, man, I was so locked in at Texas Tech that all that had passed me. So, and I didn't recruit the prep schools no more because I was in the state of Texas. So it was more me recruiting junior colleges. So I wasn't around to witness all that. You get to Texas, you're on another side of the world, man.
Yeah, Coach.
I was locked in with those Blinn Junior College, Hudson Junior Colleges, and the closest I got is Mississippi Junior Colleges. So, I didn't get a chance to, witness none of the, the other prep schools.
So Coach Tuberville, who, and I've talked to, I've had quite a few guys that I've had on. Coach Gene Chizik, I mean, amazing. He, was supposed to come on for 15 minutes, Coach, and ended up talking for an hour and 15. I didn't even know his dad was a high school coach. But once I found that out, Coach, it was just like we hit it off. He coached for Coach Tuberville. And he talked about how much he meant to him. But I mean, how smart of a coach. I mean, it's kind of like me calling you the smartest coach in America for taking Colin Jackson. I don't know why some college didn't take Coach Schumann. I mean, it didn't make any sense, but hey, the Lord's got a plan.
Right.
And Coach Tuberville is the smartest guy in America for getting you. Because if you could recruit at Gretna and recruit at Hargrave, I mean, Coach, Texas Tech, that's an easy sell. So talk about that, Coach.
Well, first thing you got to understand is that about that whole situation is that the reason why they didn't jump to take me or Coach Schumann right away was you're not going to give away your bank. So when you see your bank, mean that, you get a chance. If one of us leave, for example, when I leave Hargrave, you're not going to get those good players no more. So why not keep me there? And treat me as far as when I come in, they recruit my players the right way and guarantee me that, they're going to get their educations and say the same thing for Schumann. If he leaves, you're not going to get those good players no more. So everybody
good point.
Yeah. So You know,
Give a man a fish, feed them for a day. Teach a man to fish. They weren't going to take their fish, coach, and eat it. They
exactly.
had their fishermen right there.
Yeah, so they didn't want us to go to college. They like, I need to go back and see Coach Prunty and Coach Schumann every year so I can keep getting good players. You know, so but that's the nature of the business. But the bottom line is the young men had a chance to go to college, and that's what it's all about. Colleges
Amen.
and universities. So when the student athletes win, everybody wins.
Amen, coach. So you're from Chatham, Virginia. You've been the head coach at Gretna. You've been the head coach at Hargrave, which, coach, I'm sorry, but I don't even know what town Hargrave's in. I think it's Hargrave.
No,
Jamie
it's in
Lovren,
Chatham.
coach.
It's in Chatham.
It's in Chatham. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
coached a game against Chatham when I was at Amelia, and
Right.
we won. We were lucky, coach. We played them once and we won. It's in Chatham, Virginia, and then you go to Texas. I mean, and from what I hear, I've only been to Texas a few times, but Texas is like another country. If you ain't from Texas, it's like you're not allowed in. So, I mean, but coach, you're just you have a way to relate to people. So, what was that like going to Texas and, I mean, not being from there and having to recruit those junior colleges?
I mean, it's just like everywhere else. I think that you go in there with love. I have love in my heart for everybody. And I think people recognize genuine. And I try to treat everybody the same with respect and dignity. And that's what I respect to get back from people. So, you know, that's been my philosophy. And become a good listener. A lot of people we're not listening no more. We're telling people what to do. And I think that if we take time out and do more listening, I think that we can accomplish more as we interact with each other.
Amen, coach. Well, I wish you were in politics, coach. I would vote for you. I mean, we need more honest people. I mean, just not running our football programs, but, you know, running our country. You know, but you change lives, coach. And, you know, so you're at Texas Tech for how many years? And then Coach Tuberville goes to Cincinnati, coach. Can you tell us about that whole journey there?
Yeah, I mean, Coach decided that he wanted to take the Cincinnati job, and he called me and he said, "Hey, Coach Prunty, you know, I want you to go with me, but I also want to promote you to being the associate head coach and, of course, the D-line coach." And I said, "Coach, you know, I would love to have a chance. It'll get me closer to home too." So, you know, I thought it was a no-brainer because, you know, I've been away from, you know, from this area for 4 years, and I, you know, I had Robert Jr. At that time. He was around 13, and my little daughter Gabrielle was 3 years old. So, you know, my wife Kim, she pretty much had gave up her life for my life in this coaching thing, you know, and I give her all the credit for raising our kids because when you coach, especially at the college level, when you're in at that BCS level, you're probably putting in 13 to 14 hours a day, and then you're pretty much exhausted when you get home. So, you know, for me to get that close, I could get some help from some family members too. So it allowed me to be able to spend more time with my wife and my kids.
Yes, sir. And I always wonder, I mean, I don't know if the Kelseys played for y'all or they were after y'all or
Mm-hmm.
before y'all, but how in the world did Travis Kelce and the other Kelsey, both Hall of Famers, why did Ohio State pass up on them? I mean, that just shows recruiting is not an exact science and
Yeah,
it's not
but
cookie cutter.
right. But what you got to understand is that about Cincinnati, Cincinnati got a big tradition up there. You know, Cincinnati go out and find those blue collar kids. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey kids was from up there in Cleveland Heights, out of Cleveland, which was my area recruiting. But when I got there, Travis was just leaving, but I had a chance to spend a lot of time around him. First class individual, hard worker. You could tell when we first got there. Now I met his brother because he would come back, but they very supportive of the Cincinnati Bearcat, you know, football program. And just an amazing place. But you got to look at Sauce Gardner. When we left, you know, Sauce was just coming in and we was recruiting him out of Detroit. And when he came, and he was a 2-star. Why didn't Michigan get him? I think that these guys are starting to do a great job at different schools of finding those kids that's overlooked. I mean, you know, think about it. You got a cornerback that goes the 5th pick overall, and he's in the state of Michigan, but he goes to Cincinnati. I mean,
Wow.
just that's why That's why you look for those good recruiters, and that's why they getting paid the money they getting paid.
Yes. So to talk about Colin, that you signed out of Dinwiddie, Coach, like I was sitting back and thinking, why in the world has nobody offered this kid? Like, what are they looking for? Like the kid, I've seen his body even change since the season. He's leaned out.
Right.
I mean, talk a little bit about him, Coach. I mean, you got a diamond in the rough in him. And then I was just seeing on Twitter, I think you got a 6'2" DB or something that's like getting looked. I mean,
right.
All these kids out here want to go D1. They want to go to the big time, Power 5. But there ain't a spot for everybody. And with this transfer portal, if you're good enough, you know, they'll find you. So talk a little bit about that, Coach.
Well, I think you said it the best. If you're good enough, they'll find you. If you're good enough to play in the pros, they're going to find you. You know, that's what they're paid for. They have scouts. They have scouting departments in the NFL. They'll find you. But let me say this to you. Colin Jackson was a guy that we played possum on. We knew how good he was. We just didn't think we'd have a chance in the beginning because I thought Virginia Tech or Virginia or some bigger program at the BCS level would take him. So I just sit back and I stayed in touch with him, observed him. And then when I had an opportunity to go in for him, I went in like a shark. I went after his mother and I went after him. And I said, hey, you know, and we connected that thing together. But the biggest thing that come out of it was we had a young man, you know, that had played for me in the NFL is from his mother's hometown.
Ooh.
And mind me just like him of Colin. When I say just like him, I mean mind me of Colin and Anthony Davis, who played at Virginia Tech. He's from Laurinburg Central.
Wow.
And that's where Colin's mother come from. So once again, it's came down to relationships. But I tell you, Colin Jackson is, man, that guy might play on Sundays.
Coach, I've already called it.
About him.
I've said it numerous times. That guy's going to play pro football.
Yeah.
I predicted on many of these podcasts. I saw him as an 8th grader, and he was playing against our JV team. And I said, that kid's got to be an 8th grader because if he was a freshman, Billy Mills would be starting him on the varsity. I mean, he looked like the dude from the Green Mile. I was like, who is this kid? But
yeah,
man,
we're very fortunate to get him. We're very happy. I mean, over the top to get him because we didn't think he would still be on the board when this time came around.
Yeah, no doubt, Coach. Talk about that safety y'all have. Or is he the 6'2" DB, the huge kid? I saw him on Twitter.
Out of New Jersey, Omar. Omar is a good player. I mean, we was fortunate to get him. You know, he had Syracuse and Rutgers and those schools. And once again, it's about knowing when to attack the process. They kept dragging their feet and they didn't get it done. And we jumped right on it. And then it goes back again to I got a lot of fraternity brothers of mine that's in New Jersey. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And just about networking and talking to the right people and about building those relationships. And once again, we pick up a player we shouldn't have got.
Amen. So who are the coaches that influenced you, Coach, that helped you along the way that you learned from?
You know, I think that with me, it's different. Mine's come from hard workers. It comes from people like watching my father.
Ooh.
My father was my coach, you know, and then my mother was my coach. I can't really give just my aunts, my brothers and sisters, they were my coaches because they taught me how to love. And see, you can go 15 miles in each direction, east, west, north, and south, and you can find somebody who knows X's and O's just as good as you do. I think that for me to say what coaches influenced me would be unfair to the people who raised me.
Amen.
They were my coaches, okay? And that's who I look up to. And that's who, when I got something going on, when I need decisions, I turn to them. Because really, the X's and the O part is overrated. You always got these super coaches out there who knows everything. And man, the bottom line is, if they don't care about you, they're not going to play for you.
Amen, Coach. And that just makes me think all these guys on Twitter that's got all these followers and selling all these videos. They got 60,000 followers. And I looked at yours. I was like, come on, man. Coach Prunty, like there ain't no better recruiter than him. I mean, Coach, that's your secret, is the building relationships. And, you know this person that's from this place, and I know that person, and let's just make that thing happen. And attacking. So who are some of the best recruiters, coaches, the best recruiters you've ever been around?
Well, I've had some battles now. I tell you that right now. Ed Odron is about as good as they get now.
What's so good about him?
Oh, man. And man, once he sink his teeth in them, I mean, it's going to be a fight. I'll never forget, we was going out to some kids in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. And, man, I had to trick him. He had come in there about around 9 o'clock that night, and it was getting kind of up in out of Allegheny County, up out near, right outside of Pittsburgh, and it was dark. And I had watched him pull up. So he had his home visit before mine. And I sit over in the corner on the other side of the street, and I watched him, man. I could tell you, he was putting it on him. I could, had the window open. I could see the mother. He had the mother, the grandmother, everybody in the house. And I saw when he got ready to leave, he kind of slide. I let my window down. I heard him saying goodbye. And he said, well, listen, I look forward to, having Devon Simmons and Brandon Jackson sign with him. And he was tough. Soon as he left, I had to find out who was making the decision. Well, it was one person he missed on, and that was Devon's aunt. She was at work. And I waited for her to come in, and I tell you, I was able to communicate with her. And Devon was a 5-star, and Devon and Brandon was a 4-star. I ended up getting both of them and taking them away to Texas Tech with me and Coach Tuberville. But, he was tough. I mean, Ed Odron is about as tough as they come. Got a lot of respect for him, and I never forget. And up y'all's way, and I got bumped because of the school, but Kayvon Wallace was committed to me at Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah,
he stayed committed to me the whole summer. But listen,
he didn't even start as a junior, coach. He beat me when I was at Meadowbrook, and he didn't even start.
Yeah, but he could run, though.
You offered him, coach.
Yeah, if he could run, though. He came to camp and ran a 4.4, and he could run. And Coach Tuberville liked him, and we liked him. But I tell you, Lauren Johnson did a great job with him. Lauren went in there and then coached him up. And Irvin Miles, I was at the house where it was, and that was a tough day that day because Lauren was there, his mother was there, Irvin Miles was there, Clemson came in. And in the end, Clemson did a great job. But I can't fault Kayvon. Kayvon had a chance to go to, Clemson was rolling then. They was a premier. I mean, they just was a power program.
They had it rolling, level. Coach.
And I know we didn't have a chance. And I really appreciate Lauren Johnson giving me an opportunity to be in that fight because he, obviously it was my son. I would have did the same thing. Or either my player, I would have, told him at that time, hey, to do what's best for you. And I thought he made the right decision. But I tell you, I give Coach Johnson a lot of credit, man. He does a great job with his kids, just like all the other coaches up there. But, but I learned a lot of that. He cares a lot about his players. He does a great job, and he's continuously winning up our state champions back to back. And he's doing a good job.
They beat us in the regional championship, coach, and it was 6-0 with 6 seconds left. And we should have took a knee, fumbled the ball, and gave it back to him and made it 14-0 at halftime. And they won't, coach, after that, they got the ball back. It was 21-0. Then there might have been an onside kick there.
Right.
But we decided we was going to throw the ball. And it was 28-0. Then it was 35-0. And they rolled to another state championship.
That football up there is underrated because people don't realize the level of football they play up in Richmond, in that Richmond area. With you guys, Highland Springs, and those teams, man, those are some physical programs, and they got a lot of speed. We got to do a better job, and I got to do a better job. When I say we are recruiting up in that area, up in that Richmond area, all around it. But we've been pretty, successful. We picked up 4 kids, Quentin Johnson, and we got 2 kids, Ty Stevenson this year from Manchester. And
he beat me, coach. He beat me. Last play of the game, we scored and. Yeah, he's a good one. His brother played at Bird, went to Texas, I think Texas State, played for Coach Everett Withers.
Yeah,
he's a good one, Coach.
We've been very fortunate up there, but we got to do a better job. And we, you always You can see them going. But once again, you guys and all those programs in Highland Springs are just doing the house. It's good coaching up there. Those, I mean, that's really good high school coaches. Those young men are very fortunate to play for the coaches up there because how great of a job y'all do coaching.
Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Yeah, I mean, what a blessing, Coach. Jim McNally. I mean, I told you, I met him a week ago, Coach.
Right.
And
yeah.
he calls me. I mean, I told him the first day I met him, it was last Saturday. It took me 1 hour to set up his Twitter.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, anybody can coach Anthony Munoz. I said, but me teaching you how to use Twitter is the greatest coaching job I've ever done. Yeah, Coach.
Yeah, me and Jim go way back. Jim, I never forget when Jim put in the duck that with the offensive line, and he talked about the flapping of the feet and stuff like that. But we also go back. We spent a lot of years at the Mushroom Clinic up in Cincinnati, and a lot of people don't know that when I was the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati, Zach Taylor, the head coach at the Bengals, was the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
And a lot of people hadn't did the research and know that at the time we both was on Coach Tuberville's staff.
I didn't know that, Coach.
Yeah.
That blows me away. I was going to get Coach McNally on the phone so you could say hi to him, Coach. Man, he is the GOAT, isn't he? I mean, he's the GOAT. I mean, he went from 2 followers to in a week 1,200.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't talk offensive line without starting with him.
Oh, man, Coach. I mean, yeah, and I forgot about the cool clinic being in Cincinnati. He told me he started that. I mean, he started so much. I had Coach Strollo, Coach, he's down in North Carolina, retired.
Yeah, and he just sent me a player 2 years ago, Branden Albert, Coach Scrobo, man. I call him Scrobo. I mean, he's just tough. He sent us a kid that's been starting for us for 3 years. He's done a great job working with us, man. I really like him.
Man, Coach. So what advice would you give to younger coaches? Because it's always the same thing. I get somebody on here and they'll be sending comments. Well, how do I move up? You know, it's like that thing. High school coaches want to go to college. College guys want to go to the NFL. NFL guys just want to coach and go back to high school. So like, they're always like, how can I move up? So like for the young coaches out there, what would you say? I mean, it's God's plan, first of all. But what would you say to them, Coach?
Well, the number one thing is the best job you got is the job you got now. Just do a good job at where you at. And then first of all, you got to pray and get in a great relationship with your spiritual maker. Secondly, do a good job at the job you at. And third, just treat people right and network. You know, I told a coach the other day, I said, go to Walmart, get you some thank you cards and send every coach in BCS, FCS, wishing them good luck this season, good luck this spring. You know, you got to put some work in for this thing to work. And that's all. And just be honest. Be honest. You can tell when somebody is BSing you or when somebody's telling you the truth. And ask questions. Hey, coach, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Go to clinics. You know, go visit the spring ball for these college coaches. They come in and recruit your players. You know, so you should be, when they recruit your players, you find out which coaches are genuine enough to give you an opportunity.
You're exactly right, Coach. I got a coach's number. I don't want to give the guy's name away, but I think you'll know, Coach, when I tell you who it is. But I never met this guy. I texted him, and then I called him and left him a voicemail, and this is what he sent back to me. He's 85 years old. He goes, "Thanks for texting again, Coach. I gave the podcast some thought, but I don't want to get started down that road. Have turned down several invitations, and I think I will just continue to do so. I wish you a lot of success in the upcoming football season. Football, football, football. Yes, sir. Thanks for texting me back, Coach. Thank you for your invitation."
Right. Okay.
Dick LeBeau.
All right.
Dick LeBeau, Coach.
That's big time. That's big time.
I mean, Coach, he told me no, but I feel like $1 million. I mean, he didn't have to do that, Coach. You know, Dick LeBeau. And it's such a blessing, you know, Coach, to have this platform and to be able to help coaches. So recruiting, you know, with this transfer portal and all this stuff, you know, there's so many high school kids out there, and they're always, they want advice. What should I do? What camp should I go to? What advice can you give a high school kid that's out there that's a junior in high school? What should they be worried about? What should they be focused on? How can they put themselves in a good situation as far as recruiting, Coach?
Well, the first thing is do your work. Get your academics in order. That's just like driving a car with no wheels. If you ain't got no grades, you're not going to go anywhere. The second thing is just work hard. Work hard. Come out there every day with the attitude, I'm going to be the best out here every day. And everything else take care of itself. These coaches got hundreds of thousands of dollars in their recruiting budgets to go out and find you. All these camps and different things are overrated. if you be the one on film that shows up. If I cut that film on and your number keep popping up, then I'm going to find you. If your number ain't popping up, then I'm not going to find you. Make work hate you, if that makes sense. Make work hate you in the classroom and on the football field. And that's the way you get recruited.
Man, Coach, I mean, that's the same advice I've been giving for so many years. Make good grades, be a great kid, and work hard. The rest will take care of itself. I mean, and it's coming from you. They should listen, Coach. I mean, you were the number one. You were rated, I know, by Rivals.com as the number one recruiter in the country at one time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I mean, this is coming from the number one recruiter in the world. All right, he was rated number one. And he just got a guy who I predicted will go to play pro football. Why? Because he looks like him. So on my podcast, I talked about one day, there's 3 tests in recruiting. There's the eyeball. Well, there's the grade test. There's the eyeball test, and there's the film test. Can you talk a little bit about that, Coach, and character? You probably already did, but do you agree with that?
Well, I definitely agree with that, but I think the one that stands out the most is what you said, character. I don't care how great of a player you are. I mean, you can be the best player on this planet, but if you don't have good character, it's going to get you in the end. You're going to do something to mess up. So everything starts with character. Starts and ends with character.
That should be the number one, the kid test. The kid test. Is he a good kid? If you pause, he's a great kid. That's right. You got to come back with is he a good kid? He's a great kid, Coach.
Right.
That's like the trap, man. When the coach asks you, is he a good kid?
Right.
He's a great kid. And how can you tell, Coach? Do you go to the lunch lady? Do you go to a girl in the school? I mean, because you can't always believe the high school coach, or can you just tell?
Well, the first thing I do, I go to guidance and I want to get his attendance sheet. I want to see if he's late to class, if he's got a lot of tardies, a lot of absence. And then after that, I work my way around. I work my way around some of his teammates. I very rarely get a correct answer from the coaches because some of the coaches, they're not going to say nothing bad about their players. So I go through it might be a teacher, it might be a student, it might be somebody in the community that stays at the store that they usually go to. I went in supermarkets and found people that would say things. Hey, you heard what you know about this player right here? But very rarely, if you're going to get I know for me, it's kind of tough sometimes to get the correct answer from their coach.
Yeah. And I tell my players, like, look, the coaches ain't going to believe me, but it's the coach down the road that they say, hey, coach, man, you got to go down to that school and you got to see this kid. But if that kid's a jerk, if he's a turd, they're not going to do that. So can another high school coach help your recruiting as a player? And has anyone ever told you that before? You need to go look at this guy, Coach.
Oh,
give me an example?
All the time. I mean,
okay, Coach. Coach, can I answer Coach McNally so you talk to him?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Hey, Coach.
Did you go to church yet?
Now I'm sitting here with Coach Prunty. Coach Prunty, he's giving me my sermon today, Coach. He was the D-line coach at Cincinnati. Do you remember Coach Prunty?
I might remember the face, the name.
Yeah, Jim. I would tell Jim I said hi. Tell Jim John Whittaker. I used to come down to the cool clinic.
Yeah, but I don't know which head coach he was under.
I was with Tuberville. Tell him I was with Tuberville.
Yeah,
okay. So I was not around much then. I was around more when Quinn was the line coach, and when my daughter worked there. My daughter worked in fundraising. She's now at Northern Kentucky U. So I didn't spend as much time there when they've had a lot of changes in the last 15 years. And I spent more time up there when Brian Kelly and Jeff Quinn and that group of guys were there. So,
I spent more time with him at the cool clinic. Tell him that's why I spend more time with him at the cool clinic. Even when I would come to the cool clinic, I would see him at the cool clinic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I don't want to bother you. Okay, Coach, we'll go back to work. And I just wanted to know that I killed him this morning, I think.
Coach Prunty, Coach McNally is taking over Twitter. Coach Prunty's so happy, Coach. Coach Prunty, are you going to give Coach McNally a shout out on Twitter?
No,
oh, I am. He's the GOAT, man. He's the offensive line GOAT.
You the GOAT, Coach. You know what I was watching yesterday, Coach McNally?
What?
I was watching Boomer Esiason talking about which way to put the protection at the cool clinic. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You were on the film. He's getting on you about not having any sheets up there, Coach.
Yeah. Well, I asked Boomer to speak, so he did, and I asked Anthony to speak one time, and he did speak. Hey, how was Strollo? I know I've listened to about half of his report, but then I shut it off because, I wanted to do something else. But
I mean, Coach, we were on there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Coach Strollo talked. You're right, Coach. He uses big words, Coach. I don't know nothing about physics.
Yes, but when he demonstrates, you get the point.
Amen, Coach. Hey, Coach, I'll call you back, Coach.
Yeah, well, if I don't answer, then I'm doing something else.
I got you, Coach. Thank you very much.
Good luck to both of you. Bye.
Hey, isn't he the best, Coach?
He's the best.
80 years old.
He's the GOAT.
I mean, he wore a weight belt, Coach, during his 2-hour podcast.
I love it.
He's coming back on Tuesday.
Oh, I love it.
He's going to do another 2 hours, man.
Good.
I mean, that's what it's all about right there. I mean, did you ever think that when you were the high school coach at Gretna, going around to all those churches, that you would have been that you've been and meet people like Jim McNally? I mean, Coach, I'm just a high school coach in Richmond, Virginia. And to think that I'm talking to Jim McNally on the phone and he's calling me. Was there ever a moment where you were like, wow, like this is amazing? Anytime, Coach, throughout your career, like you were like, I can't believe this?
No, I don't really get like that because, if it's not on the spiritual level, I'm a man of God. So if it ain't nothing dealing with the Lord, I'm not going to get woe by it other than something dealing with the Lord. So, I think that, it's those guys have did a phenomenal job in helping not only our youth, but also our adults as far as high school football go to the NFL, to whatever level. But, I'm always I don't get too high and I don't get too low. I stay in between, and right in the center point of my life is God. So God don't let me get like that. He always keep me balanced.
Amen. Because I mean, the Lord will humble you when you get too high, Coach. And
right.
I mean, give some spiritual advice for coaches, guys that maybe have been fired, guys who don't have a winning record, who they put that first.
Well, this is a tough business. I mean, this is a cutthroat business now. I mean, one day, look, for example, like Ed Odron wins the national championship, come back and he gets fired. I mean, he steps down. Gene Chizik wins the national championship at Auburn and then comes back. He's no longer the coach. I mean, this is just a tough business, and you got to be able to manage everything around you. One of the best advice I got, and God bless his soul, he's gone now, was from Joe Paterno. We was riding. He came to Hargrave Military Academy to recruit a kid named Kevin Newsom, who ended up signing with him, a quarterback from down here in Chesapeake. And when he came, we went for a ride to my brother's preschool. Pennsylvania County Community Action got a preschool with kids from, I think they was from 5-year-old to 7-year-old. And he went in there and spoke to the class. But when we were driving back, he gave me some of the best advice I ever had. He said, Coach, I'm going to give you 2 things. Don't ever lose your family and take care of your health. And that was some of the best advice I ever got from Joe Parr. So, this business is tough. And that's what I give to any coach is that don't lose your family and take care of your health.
Amen. And that's why these guys like Paterno and Saban, they've been able to last so long. I mean, it's like, how could someone do this for that long? And there it is. Don't lose your family and and take care of your health, because if you don't do that, you ain't going to be here very long. So how do you accomplish those 2 goals? How do you go about ensuring that you don't lose your family and you take care of your health, Coach?
Well, I always make my wife and my kids my priority. That's my number. I don't care where we at. I don't care if we at practice. I don't care if it's something going on. If they call, I'm going to take that call. If that phone ringing is them, I'm going to take that call. If it's my kids or my wife, I'm taking that phone call. And that's a must. That's my number 1 priority. And number 2 is, just like out here now, I'm out into my garage. I just finished working out. I'm going to get up and work out every day. Now on Sundays is more of a mental day for me. I'm going to probably, I'll fast at 12 o'clock, and I'll have a protein shake, and I'll have blueberries with a little turmeric in it, along with some ginger and some, and I have some cinnamon over top of it. And then after that, I'll go and get an Epsom salt bath. I like to, get some warm water and get some lavender Epsom salt, and I'll sit in there for about 15 minutes. And it's more of a mental thing, and I cut on some type of, whether it be some type of sermon or whether it just be some type of classical music. I love Bach and Handel. I like listening to some of the Mozart music and stuff and relax. And I have a mental health day. I always treat Sundays as not only as a chance for me to read and get close to God, but also as a mental health day for me.
That's awesome, Coach. So I send you the message this morning that I want to get you in the podcast. Well, I mean, what was it that you were like, boom, send me your cell number, Coach? Or was it just, you were just like, let's do this thing?
Well, man, I'm humble, man. I'm a high school coach.
Amen.
I come from Gretna High School.
Yeah.
I mean, if you reach out to me, I knew who you were. And I know you're trying to do something good with your podcast. I mean, why wouldn't I? I don't care if I'm a billionaire and you do that. I'm going to get right back to you. I'm humble, man. Listen, my mother taught us this. If somebody give you a crumb, be thankful. I'm going to be thankful for anything that somebody give to me. And I'm going to show appreciation. So, I mean, why wouldn't I respond right back to you? The last time when I got that message, I tried to click it to get to you and I couldn't get to you. So this time I saw it and I saw where I could direct message you, DM you, and I did right away within less than minutes, because that's who I am. Man, listen, hey man, I'm just trying to play my part in this world.
Amen.
I'm not trying to be no bigger or nothing. I'm just a little old coach there at Hampton University in the CAA trying to win a football game. And that's just who I am, bro.
Yeah. And Joe Taylor, who was the longtime head coach at Hampton U, he always said coaching is our ministry. And I know you believe that, Coach. I mean, coaching, talk a little bit about how coaching has been your ministry over the last 30 years or 40 years, however long it is, Coach, that you've been coaching. How has coaching been your ministry?
Well, because you get a chance to get back. Coaching is, you just don't coach them, you teach them too now. And that's what it gets down to, because you got to be careful with this coaching, because you got the power to poison kids, but you also got the most important, you got a chance to inject some positive in kids, to motivate them, to make them better citizens, to make them better people. So we have to be real careful with these titles that we have. You know, and that's been my biggest thing, is to always give back. Don't just take away. You know, be in it for the right reason, and don't make it all about money. Sure, you got to make money, but don't make it all about money. Listen, I got brothers and sisters who go work in factories every day. Man, I get to coach football for a living. I got the greatest job in the world, man.
Amen.
I thank God every day for it.
Amen, Coach. And I think it was Coach Ron Prince told me that the number one factor if a kid was going to make it in pro football was that they had that person in their life that got up every day and showed them work ethic. Got up, and didn't matter how much money was in the bank account. It didn't matter whether it was a nice house or a small house or whatever. It was that work ethic, like you said, that your mom and dad had instilled in you, that they were going to get up and they were going to go to work. And that was the number one statistic that showed, whether a kid was going to be successful, because they've seen it. So can you talk a little bit about, that work ethic that you look for in your players and the work ethic that you display to them?
Well, it's pretty simple. You know, my mom told me, my dad had told me, I asked them, what does it take to make it? And they said, hard work, son. Plain and simple, hard work. And that's the same thing I tell my players. And see, even the Bible speaks of it in Proverbs. If you're lazy, you're not going to get a reward from being lazy. You know, the man that won't work, he won't eat. So, the bottom line is, I go back to it. I don't want to sound redundant. Make work hate you. You got to have that mentality. And that's what it takes, is that blue collar mentality. And that's what, in the state of Virginia, you go look at it. That's been a tag in this state, is that, we're going to work hard at what we do.
Talking about Virginia and being from Gretna, Virginia, I mean, all of us being from Virginia, whether it be the 757 or Central Virginia or the Northern Virginia DMV or Southside Virginia, where you're from, I guess that's what it would be called, Coach.
Right.
Or Southwest Virginia, like Matt McClung.
Yeah.
Like, we have pride in being from Virginia, and we pull for people that's from Virginia, whether it be Matt McClung or whether it be Russell Wilson or Allen Iverson. Like, talk about that, Coach. Everywhere you've been around the country, is there pride in being from VA?
Ain't no question. I mean, when I was at Texas Tech, I wear that VA on my tag. I mean, I love it. I mean, this is where I was born. This is the state I come from. I'm going to always hold that high. If I see somebody from the state, I'm going to always recognize that. This is the way it is. I'm born and raised. They'll burn me in the state of Virginia, so that's who I am.
Yeah, and then to be able to go to Hampton that used to be Hampton Institute, one of the first schools for freed slaves in America. Talk about that, Coach. The responsibility and the job that you have there at Hampton and that tradition, Coach.
Well, it's just phenomenal. And a lot of people don't know enough about Hampton. The first thing is that when you arrive on campus, you run into the Emancipation Oak. The Emancipation Oak is the oak tree where they read the freedom of slaves. Imagine that now, being enslaved for all them years, and then they bring you together one day and they read that you are free. We have one of Abraham Lincoln's pen in the museum here where he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And then along with Hampton, people don't realize that the first slave ship came over on Fort Monroe, which was called Point Comfort then. In 1619, or August 20th, 1619, the White Line ship came over. Then 2 weeks later, the treasure came over. There's so much history here. And I tell you, one fact that a lot of people really don't know is that Hampton was founded by a white man, Bridge General Armstrong. And Hampton's first 7 presidents was white. Hampton didn't get a black president in 1948. Alonzo G. Moore.
Wow.
So imagine this now. Hampton was founded April the 1st, 1868. Look at this now. This is 3 years after the Civil War. And a white man comes in and founded a Negro trading school to educate blacks, which was forbidden.
Mm.
So think about General Armstrong mindset then.
He was ahead of the curve.
It's so much history here. And look at the school in Richmond named that's Armstrong High School up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much. It's so much history at Hampton University. What about, we got our former president, Dr. William Harvey, was the president for 44 years, and now we got a 3-star general that just took over, Darrell K. Williams. There's so much history here. And then imagine this now. For my first 3 years here, we went to 3 different white conferences, the first to do it. We were the first to go to the Big South as a HBCU. And now we the first to go to the CAA as a HBCU. All this have taken place under my tenure of getting the job here. So that's been a lot of adjustments being made here. So it's phenomenal. And then, most important, look at the academic institution Hampton University is.
Yes, sir.
And look at a line with William and Mary, Delaware, Villanova. Those are the kind of academic institution. So for us to go to that conference, the geographical footprint fit us perfect.
I never thought of it like that, Coach, but you're exactly right. I mean, Hampton U is legit. You don't get into Hampton U unless you got the grades. And that's just that tradition of excellence. And you're exactly right. I mean, y'all are right there. William and Mary has a great tradition of academic excellence, and y'all are right there with them. And how has it been, Coach, transitioning from, going to, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, East Carolina, to coming to Hampton U to take your first college head coaching job and all of that change? How has that journey been, Coach, in those last 3 years? Talk a little bit about that.
No difference. I think if you look at it, the best coaches I've been around has been the high school coaches because they honest. They honest and they put in all the work because they spend all the time developing those kids. Because when they get to college, we have a system that we're going to run, but you guys do all the work. If I'm a high school player, when I leave high school, I'm going to love my high school coach for the time he took out with me. First of all, he's underpaid. All educators to me are underpaid. And secondly, he gonna take more time with you than any coach in your lifetime. If you're a high school coach, you should tell your coach, thank you for everything that you have done for me. Because you make a drop when it comes to what college coaches make. So I know you're giving me from the heart. Not saying that college coaches are not giving them from the heart, just saying that high school coach is spending more time and going to a longer extent as far as dealing with that young man goes and his development towards trying to get to college.
When I asked you about what coaches it was that influenced you, you talked about your mom and dad and your aunts and your family. And I had a coach that told me when I first started the podcast, he said, Troy, the last 2 jobs I've taken, I was able to relate to the kids and it was easy. He said, but this new job, the kids have told me they can't relate to me, that they can't, that I'm trying to change them or I don't look like them. I mean, for the kids that don't have, a good role model or might not have, a male in their life and being a high school coach, what can we do for them? And what advice would you give that coach out there that's saying that the players can't relate to him, on the way he looks, Coach? Because, I mean, you've been around some great coaches and they all look like the players.
Right. Man, just be yourself. Because what you gonna do? Change somebody? Then you won't be you. If you got to accept me for who I am. You know, maybe it's some personality things you might need to work on, or relationship wise. I mean, ain't like you can go back and be reborn and change how you look and how you in the way you are. I mean, you can now. If you got some ways that's not positive and they negative, then you definitely need to change those ways. But I'm going to always be Robert Prunty. You know, now do I have to adjust? Yeah. I mean, as far as, you know, who I'm working with and do you have to compromise different things? You know, but you don't compromise your integrity. You don't compromise the word respect, and you don't compromise your character. If you're doing what's right, then you shouldn't have to change. But if you're doing something wrong, then you probably need to change.
Amen. So for the kids that need a coach, I mean, do you believe that all kids have somebody in their life that's showing them the way, a family member, or, you know, are all kids different? And what role does a coach play in that, Coach?
Well, my mother said it best, and I believe this, and that God will send somebody in your life. He will put somebody in your life, whether it be by a teacher, whether it be by a coach, or whether it be by somebody in your neighborhood. God will put somebody in your life. All you have to do is listen.
All you got to do is listen. Yeah, Coach, I think that right there, I think we should end on that, Coach. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the high school coaches or anybody else that might be watching? I got your Twitter handle on there, Coach. Is there anything that you would like to say to the clinic, Coach, as we sign off?
You know, the only thing I can say is that the high school coaches, they do a phenomenal job. And I see some of the guys sometimes when they visit with me, they get down on themselves. And, you know, as far as getting a college job or whether it be they don't think they're doing enough. But, man, I'm a high school coach. Even though I'm the head coach at Hampton, I'll always be a high school coach. Value that experience because it's a lot of coaches in college that are lost. And you guys are making the difference. You're making the difference in these young men's lives. I really appreciate everything that you guys do for these kids when they come in. Because without you guys, then there wouldn't be no college coaches. So I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Just keep the faith and keep working hard.
Amen, Coach. And I know I told you before we came on air, but when I coached at Virginia Union for 3 years, you know, my first year I got to go on the road, and I was so like, okay, man, I get to go into schools. I loved it. And then I think, like I told you, I think it might have been Magna Vista or somewhere in the middle of nowhere. You and Coach Tuberville pull up in a car, and I mean, it was like, wow, man, that's Coach Prunty. You know, he was the head coach at Gretna. He turned Gretna around. He was the head coach at Hargrave. And that meant so much to me when I got to see you that day, Coach. So it's just a small world, man. And, you know, I appreciate you coming on, Coach. I appreciate the time that you've spent.
Well, thank you for having me, man. And listen, do me a favor. Take care of your family and take care of your health, okay?
Amen.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah, amen, Coach. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.